Hi guys, Mike here at Royal Eclipse Productions, and today's the 1st of August 2018. For those of you who followed my video blog that I put up around a week ago, I do apologise because I know I said that one of these videos would be coming on Sunday, just gone. For those of you, however, who've seen me on Twitter and spoken to me on Instagram, you will know that I've been having some serious issues with my setup. Those of you who followed me sort of since day one will know that my core system is a mid-2010 2.8 quad-core Xeon processor with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and then we're using a Mac Mini to back up kind of, older libraries that I still use quite a bit. So that's a 2.8 i5 with 8 gig of RAM, so this is the late 2014 Mac Mini. So it doesn't run any of the intensive stuff that's done by the Mac Pro, but obviously we are coming up to 9 odd years old almost next year in terms of this system. So I think I've just outgrown it, which is fine. 9 years out of a computer, who can complain with that? But basically we've been getting lots of pops, lots of clicks, lots of kind of sample rate issues, lots of distortion, and it just becomes completely unstable to the point that I have to restart the machine. If we look at the CPU meter here, we can see that while the threads are being used relatively balanced from 2 to 8, this first core is just completely overloaded. Part of that is to do with the way Logic deals with audio. If you're recording a live track, so say, I'm not going to do it because it will kill the session, but say we trigger one of these to actually record one of the Vienna Ensemble instances, or we record some audio in, it will basically take the recording and all the plugins you've got on the channel strip and the buses that are linked to that and throw it through the same core, which I get for latency purposes, but with an older Mac that is just not the best way to be going, in my opinion. The newer ones will handle it absolutely no problem at all, and of course we've got to remember that Vienna Ensemble is also using cores, so I feel that something with the balance between Vienna Ensemble hosting the contact libraries and Logic kind of jumping in there, it's just not working very well anymore for me. I will also note that I take the piss slightly, let's put it that way. I tend to mix and compose at the same time, and even master. So I've got my master bus active as well, which is taking up a lot of extra resources. So for the time being, basically, I've been cutting a lot of that out. So this version you're hearing now is not the final mastered version because I had to cut it out or the session wouldn't play. But we're managing to play it. So what I'm hoping from this video, without me rambling on too much longer and boring you guys to death, I'm going to play through the second pitch for my Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer. Again, if you follow the video blog, it's not a trailer that I didn't win the pitch, but the trailer house were very happy with the track, and I felt, given the film's now out and gone, and we can talk about it, I can kind of talk you guys through the approach that I took, some of the philosophies behind the kind of composition to the sound art piece. Yeah, any questions you guys might have, please feel free to kind of fire them away, and I'm now going to shut up and play you through the queue, and then we'll come back and talk you through some of the libraries that are used, so enjoy. Okay, we just about made it. There was a couple of pops and clicks there. Just as a disclaimer for any kind of sample library creators out there that might be watching this video, all the pops and clicks absolutely nothing to do with the architecture or the design of the library. It is purely down to this problem I'm having with my CPU. So yeah, just a little disclaimer out there. The libraries are great. Logic generally is great. It is just my system. So that was the Jurassic World trailer pitch 2. So in terms of libraries, there's a fair bit going on, but not too much. Soloists, we're basically for the whistle sound that you hear, so for the actual kind of theme-based bit here. Ton of reverb on that one. That is East West Ra, I believe. Ra Silk, no, it's Ra. So that's whistles. We kind of had a long conversation with the music supervisor, and we thought whistles was the kind of way to go. I suppose it kind of sounded to me like, and him, sort of foresty and something that would give almost like an organic feel to the score. So I wanted to just hint at John Williams' theme without getting sued or kind of taking the mick with that. So I just gave a few notes, and I think anyone who's kind of familiar with or knows Jurassic Park, knows Jurassic World, would instantly be put into that space. So it repeats twice throughout the intro, and then for those of you who are paying attention, the very end on the strings. So it'll be this one here, I believe. Let's bring it up. We have the theme played again. So if I play that for you guys. This is another East West library, by the way. This is Hollywood Strings Harmonics, which I love. So the idea behind that was kind of as the credits roll up for the trailer, you know, coming soon, all that sort of thing, we hear echoes of the theme and all these... Oh, see if it's going to allow me to do this. We hear all the kind of dinosaurs in the background and the effects and things like that to kind of put us into the forest world. So let's jump in a little bit to the end of the trailer. Oh, I'm jumping around all over the place today, aren't I? So anyway, so we're using, like I say, we're using East West Ra stroke Silk for the whistle sound. Strings is being taken care of via Spitfire Audio's Evo Grid. And as I mentioned, Hollywood Strings is Hollywood Strings, basically, from East West. Brass, we got just some swells, some bones, so just a little bit of trombones from Orchestral Tools Metropolis Arc. Albion 1 for woodwind, so Spitfire again, then Metropolis Arc again for bassoons. Percussion, Metropolis Arc again, Albion 1 for Spitfire. Alchemy, so that's obviously built in to Logic. It used to be a Camel Audio owned sampler, basically, but then Apple bought it. So that's just doing a drone. A pulsating drone that's very quiet in the mix. Then we use an Albion again for some effects, basically on their kind of their Steam orchestra stuff, where they basically just took everything they recorded from Albion 1 and made a kind of like a sound design element to it, which is awesome. Hybrid 2, so Daniel James's library, that we got some drone stuff happening there. Gravity from Heaviosity for that big riser in the middle. That is an amazing plugin, guys, for anything like this. Anything to do with tension, I would get hold of that. Alchemist from Sting Audio. So I bought this library especially for this trailer. And they've got a whole bunch of kind of textures and drones in that. There are plenty of videos out on that, which are really, really useful. So I'd go and check that out if you want those kind of things. Alchemist again for some sound design, some hard hits. Percussion-y type stuff. If I play it, we should be able to hear a big crash round about now. Okay, it's distorted slightly. So that's a kind of lots of Alchemist stuff, hard hits, sound design mixed with Easter Island hits from Albion 1, and we've got the Metropolis Arc epic percussion hit, which is pretty epic, I must admit. So yeah, where are we? Moving on. So we're going to go down. Then I've got Evolve Mutations, which is a seriously old library. Heaviosity again. That's dealing with the kind of the dinosaur-y sounds. So if I come back and solo this one. So I designed that and pitched it within the plugin, basically. So I went into Contact and used a little spanner to start mucking around with the sound, just to get something that sounded, you know, dinosaur-esque, really. Panic Attack from this is again Quantum Leap. Their Storm Drum 2, which again is an old library. It's just a really useful kind of. You know, if I solo this one out, and you can hear this one as well. Oh, pops and clicks, not good. So it's just a bit of tension to add there. Then, this is an interesting one with Zebra. So anyone who knows Hans Zimmer and Remote Control Productions will know that Zebra was used heavily during the kind of Dark Knight films, during the Inceptions. Heavily. That was the synth of choice for those films. So there was a trailer that I previously did for an Italian director called The Perfect Husband. And basically I used Zebra, the trial of Zebra. So I didn't actually buy it at the time. And the trailer house loved that sound. You know, they kept pointing back to that cue that I'd written and saying, hey, where'd you get that sound? We want that sound. We want that deep sound. So I nicked it from the session. I basically literally did that. Just exported from my old session the audio, and then it literally sounds like this. If I bring up the mixer, a lot of it's very quiet, but they're just drones that basically go up and down in volume. Should come back in again. Lots of automation in this cue. So right now we're listening to Zebra. Or Zebra. In a cinema, that will sound absolutely awesome, and that real rasp. In case anyone's wondering, why have we got a massive mid-quiet section? That is intentional, by the way, guys. The brief was to almost just do a massive riser, really intense, edge-of-the-seat type stuff to silence. So that's the brief that I got. Talking about the brief, because I think we've covered all the libraries now, this was not scored to picture. They hadn't even finished making the film at the time when I was pitching for this cue. So I was kind of envisioning, well, I was told that it was going to be kind of lots of different shots of some of the older films, or at least that's what we kind of thought was going to be, because this was supposed to be for the teaser. So I tried to kind of think, well, how are we going to put the audience straight into an odd world? How are we going to put them straight into to be thinking about Jurassic World? So hence the start of the cue. Slightly delayed again, sorry guys, that's the machine. So to me, personally, if you picture yourself sitting in a cinema and you start hearing that big rumble and dinosaur-y sounds, I'm trying to put you in the space before you then hear the hint to the theme with the bendy horns and things like that. So I used a lot of, I was quite clever actually. If we look at the mixer with it, I use a lot of kind of percussion quite cleverly in this, so we can see that lots of volumes moving around and up and down. That is because I didn't want the start of that swell to be prominent at first, so I didn't want the hit and the swell of the drum. I wanted to just hear almost like the reverb of the drum, which puts you in like a weird space, I would hope. So I thought I was being massively clever with that one. So these here, these Easter Island hits and the percussion hits, you don't actually hear the start of the hit. There we go, see the volume automation there? So if we play this again, it would have gone bang, and then that's the fallout of the drum, which to me just kind of almost, I was hoping would create this big world before we hear the main theme. So I was hoping to put you into the world. Hopefully they'd show you kind of imagery that was then Jurassic World from when we first start hearing the theme. Then of course all hell breaking loose and this riser section, which we're using gravity for. More dinosaur sounds. And then that big zebra thing coming up as well. Silence. So this middle section was supposed to be, you know, from kind of bar 16 all the way up there to 29, was supposed to be just chaos. And then I'd imagine that there would be almost like a quieter part where maybe the camera sort of fades back out, and then we get the whole coming soon, cinema near you, like launch date, all that stuff, as we hear the theme and all the credits roll up. So that, I suppose, was kind of some of the philosophy behind what I was going for. Something very atmospheric. They didn't really want music, and hence why the first pitch didn't contain any themes. It was actually completely atonal. So I had to kind of re-engineer the session, you know, to have a tonal center, and include the theme and kind of point towards John Williams' work that he'd done in the past, again, without being sued or taking the piss too much kind of thing. So, yeah, I would say the core libraries in here, really, you know, you are looking at, definitely Gravity is a massive part of it. Definitely the Evo Grid. Evo Grid, guys, by the way, is a library I reckon you should get. Now, I know there's 3 versions of this now, so I've only got the first one, and I think there's a bit before I've done one that includes woodwinds as well. But it basically, for anything you're trying to do where you just need something to create an atmosphere, this is what you get. There's 1 D note. Except it's not. We're hearing a lot more than that for some reason. Okay. No, that is all Evo Grid. So we're literally just... we're clustering up something there. But that's the bulk of the atmosphere right there and the tension just with 1 library. You know, then obviously by adding harmonics and things like that. What have we got here as well? Ah, my favourite. My favourite. So this is all within Evo Grid, guys. You know, like, you can get all these sorts of sounds and effects. Again, there is big videos on Evo Grid. I did one for my, when I ran through my blanket session. I talked a lot about Evo Grid. But, in fact, let's try and bring it up so you can see it. Let's just hope it doesn't crash. Paranoid now, aren't I, about this crashing. Where am I? Where am I? Strings, native instruments. Don't crash. Okay. So this here is Evo Grid, basically. So just to go over it very quickly, these pegs you can move, and they create different sounds. So you can use this button here, and then choose to just randomize with simple, scary, or tense, or anything visible in these grid. But basically, any one of these pegs on each one of those keys will be a different 2T articulation. So if we're on the tense one here, let's just preview this one again. So that's the A sharp 6. So if I move that peg, see this one, we then get that sound. I like that. What's this one? Very slightly different. Let's put it back to where I was. Hopefully you guys kind of get the idea. Right, back one more. Yeah, that's where I was. So yeah, but just by moving these pegs, you can literally get a whole different type of sound. I would try and play something on the keyboard, but I know the CPU is going to go wrong, so I'm not going to do it. So those things are literally, to me, integral, really, was the Evo Grid stuff to create the atmospheres, the gravity for this massive riser, which I designed in there, literally in their riser designer, which is part of the software. They make it so easy for you to create those big riser sounds and affect them. The effects within there are just insane. So I'd get hold of gravity for anything like that tension. Zebra I felt was definitely integral, mainly because the trailer house wanted it, and I know when you're in the screen and you're listening to that, we're going to hear it without the riser. That would be massive in the screen. You really would hear that. Albion is literally just going to be doing paddy things as well. So, for instance, the flying steam machine. which is currently not making any sound whatsoever. Maybe it does towards the end. No, it does absolutely nothing. I'm not sure if that's something that's gone wrong with the... Let's have a look at this one. Is this running? Okay, so that's running. Interesting. It should be giving me a sound. There we go. Okay. Weird. I'm getting some very strange things happening. So again, just steamy kind of just tension. Is just all it is just textural. That was the idea, was just textural for the whole thing. All I wanted for this section was a massive great texture with the sounds of the dinosaurs, of course. If we can bring them up. These were slightly pitched as well. So as you can see, I hope here, this is pitching. So the idea was that each time we heard the dinosaur sound, it wasn't exactly the same. And that was achieved all through that Evolved Mutations 2 library. It took me ages to track that sound down or something that sounded like that. And like I say, lots of effecting within the plugin, but we got there. Alchemist, it kind of sounds a bit like this. Pretty big, right? Pretty sound designy, pretty good. Love it. Gravity. This is just ridiculous. I love it. Just to bring up the plugin so you can see it, guys. So we got a breakout basically over 12 bars. These are organic synth and effects. Sector 12s. Let's not play that again. So yeah, it just gives you like it's a really, really simple way to basically create risers. If you want to create risers, you can do it yourself. You know, it is literally a case of merging three sounds that work together. You could literally record a washing machine for your organic sound if you wanted. For your synth, you can obviously program a synth to last for the amount of time that you want. And for your effect, we should be able to actually solo it. Let's solo all three of these elements. So the effect of this, that's your effect. Then with the synth, just pulsing. All three. So you could just have an effect if you wanted. And then the synth as well. So yeah, Gravity for that sort of stuff is absolutely brilliant. It saves you a lot of time. I did not have long, coming back to the session with this, I did not have long to do this. So I was actually visiting my father down in Eastbourne, and I drove home in the middle of the night to get this cue done and tried to send off by the time they needed it. So I probably wrote it in about 4 hours. So I didn't have a lot of time to kind of muck about, and you often don't when it comes to trailer cues, and you often don't when it comes to film music or sound design or anything in general. So having access to libraries like that can just get you the job done quick is almost integral. The woodwind section, and in fact the bones is probably worth talking about as well. So this is from Metropolis Arc. Let's just play them. So they're quiet, but I hope you can see the pitch bending that's going on. So if I play this alongside the whistles, it should give you a good perspective of what it was up to, basically. So just those two. So increases in volume, bends in the bones. And the whistle there. For the eagle-eyed of you as well, you may have noticed that there are a lot of tempo switches in this cue. So where we're starting at, for the first part of it, we're starting at 130. All the way down to 40. Then we're going to go up to 100 and 130. Just bring in the rest as well so you can hear it. Oh, here we go. Pops and clicks. So, luckily we've not managed to have too much of that so far. I'm quite pleased. Woodwinds low. I think they're basically pretty much doing exactly the same thing. So, let's play these guys on their own so you can hear those as well. Sorry. And if we bring in all three... So it's a combination of whistles, brass, and woodwinds to create that kind of main theme part. And obviously we got the strings and everything else backing it up, and the effects. So I'm really pleased with it. I personally think that it did work for the trailer. And the sentiment of the one that actually got placed was very, very similar. Slightly different approach in terms of there was a lot more percussion that went on in the original one than mine. But, you know, we went for more of a kind of textural, pure sound design approach just with the theme added on top. Whereas you did have a lot more kind of like bombastic drums that you perhaps would have expected, really, I suppose, from maybe traditional, or I say traditional, like current contemporary trailers that got in the placement. But they did use a little bit of sound design, but I definitely went all out on the sound design. Don't pop and click. I will play you some of the Hybrid 2 stuff because it really helps to add that depth to the track. I've been banging it in a lot of different stuff. It's just not playing on me again. Interesting. Yeah, it's failed to work. Again, no reflection on the library itself. It is just the fact that my CPU is really struggling to keep up with these. So, really, when you're looking at it, without going on too much, the drones are definitely going to be coming from Hybrid 2. They're definitely coming from Alchemist. They're definitely coming from Storm Drum 2. Percussion is also playing a big part in actually building up those sounds. If you see this here, you may have noticed this earlier. If we play this one, this is basically epic percussion hits, but lots of them. So what it's actually doing is building up this huge, great soundscape that's just getting louder and louder in the low end. So it'll rumble like hell in the theatre, basically. Yeah, that was the idea. You were building up because there's a huge reverb on that. Sorry, guys, it is really popping. I'm aware of that. Yeah, I tried to use a combination of lots of different stuff to kind of make the cue. I hope that was in some way insightful. I've been rambling on for kind of half an hour now. Yeah, those are the libraries that I definitely used. Again, really happy with the cue. I'm going to run through Q1 So basically the first pitch for you guys. I'm going to try and get that working tonight, because obviously I had to cut a lot out of this one to get it up and running. And I'm going to have to cut a lot out again of the first pitch to show you guys that as well. But I really do hope that that was useful. It gave you some kind of insight into what I used and the libraries that I had, and a little bit of kind of my thought process behind the film. Like I said, it's a shame it didn't get placed, but hey, you know, we will keep pitching. It was an amazing opportunity to be asked to do it and to be kind of in the room and be having that conversation. And there will be many more opportunities. So yeah, there will be more videos coming again soon, guys. Like I say, so I'm going to go through pitch 1, which had a little bit more percussion in it. And there's going to be a lot more videos talking about new Macs and new setups. I'm also about to move house within the next sort of 7 weeks. That's all gone through. So I'll do another studio tour video. And then hopefully I'll start pitching out one a week. That's the idea for trailer, alongside the music production stuff and the kind of wearing the producer hat. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. So best of luck to you all, and goodbye for now. See you later. Bye-bye.